Hello, hello, welcome to the show. Welcome to Not Just Nintendo, a video game podcast that is about Nintendo. But it's not just Nintendo here at Not Just Nintendo, as I talk about other video games as well. Although today, I should say, it is probably going to be just Nintendo today specifically, or at least basically just Nintendo. At least just games on Nintendo platforms. I don't think I'll be talking about anything else really at any sort of length. I have been playing two games in the last 6 days or so. The day I recorded the podcast last week on Tuesday. I'm doing it on Wednesday morning this time around. And on Wednesday last week, I did play a little bit more of Yakuza 0. If you didn't watch the last episode, I talked a lot about Yakuza 0 Director's Cut on the Switch 2. So I played a little bit of that. I tried to get unstuck in Final Fantasy 3, but not really for a whole length of time. And then I kind of got a little bit distracted. So of course there was a big thing that came out. We'll talk about that today. Believe me, there will be time. That is pretty much all we'll talk about today. But the other thing I've been playing, I guess I can briefly mention this. I'm sure the one thing you can probably guess what it was that I've been playing. I'm sure it's been given away now by the title, by the way I'm talking about it, by the way I'm dancing around talking about it. But the other one you probably can't guess unless, of course, you're stalking me. In which case, please stop. So the other game is Mario's Picross. I know it's a bit of a departure. So Mario's Picross is of course a Picross game. I should specify I'm playing the one on Game Boy, not the one on like Famicom. Um, I think the Game Boy one's a little more common, but Mario's Picross is kind of the first Picross game. These puzzles are very common, especially I think in Japan, but they're over here too. I know my dad loves doing them in books, like physically. But he also played some Mario's Picross on Game Boy, so anyway. But I've been playing it. There in Mario's Picross. I mean, there's really not much to say, right? I've played it about 2 hours. I play it at nights, before bed and stuff. I kind of relax. I play some Mario's Picross. I know it's a bit of a weird thing to play, but I've been doing it. I think I'm probably gonna see it through. I've still got a long ways to go though. There's easy Picross. There's a normal Picross. Sorry, I just like smacked my microphone. It probably sounded bad. Anyways, so Mario's Picross, it's all right. I will say a big thing is like the pictures that you make. If you don't know what Picross is, watch a quick video of Mario's Picross and you'll quickly understand. Or try to play it yourself. It's on Switch Online. But anyways, you make these pictures and stuff, and to be fair, most of them are completely not Mario themed, like at all. Like you'll make a picture and it'll be like flagpole or teacup. I'm like, why can't these be Mario themed? I don't know. But anyways, regardless, I've been playing Mario's Picross. Honestly, I just figured I should talk about it because I don't think we'll be talking about anything else besides this other game that we're going to talk about in this episode. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because that's kind of the main thing. So I guess you've waited 3 minutes. Let's address the ape in the room. That, of course, is Donkey Kong Bonanza. So Bonanza came out on Thursday last week, and as I've complained about a lot, I no longer have a GameStop, and I buy games physically, which means it's very difficult for me to find anything that's not like brand new. And honestly, even some of the brand new stuff, like my Walmart never got Raidu remastered, and never got the Suikoden remasters. Like I just can't find those anywhere. I have to drive. I have to go like an hour and a half to find any real video games. It really kind of sucks. But thankfully, Bonanza, it's a brand new Nintendo game. Obviously, they're gonna have it. So, early in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. The Walmart opened. We went out, went out there to Walmart. My dad and we picked up Donkey Kong Bonanza. They hadn't put it out on the shelves yet, so they had to go look for it. And the counter in the back where you buy electronics and stuff wasn't open, so we had to go up to the front. And I mean, it was a whole mess. But we got Donkey Kong Bonanza. Donkey Kong Bonanza. I guess I'll talk a little bit about the box, right? The box looks really nice. I like the box art. Obviously, we've seen the box out for a very long time. We've seen it since like April 2nd. It went on the store. Okay, I need to stop doing that. I keep hitting my microphone stand. But anyways, but Donkey Kong Bonanza, it's kind of a shame. You open up the case here, right? And it's got this beautiful art behind the case, right? And on Switch 1, I always used to like looking at the art. And I always used to like admire the art because usually there's good art behind the case. Unfortunately, with Switch 2, they've made it all red inside, so you can't see the freaking art. And so that's honestly that's what annoys me most about the Switch 2 cases. I like the Switch 2 cases otherwise. I like the red theming. I don't really love the huge red notch on the top, but that's all right. I like the case, but I don't like the inside being red. I wish the inside was clear, so then we could actually see the games. But it doesn't matter. It's really not a big deal. I'm just complaining. I'm just finding something to complain about because honestly, with Bonanza, there's not much. It's pretty good. So anyways, but yeah, so I was immediately like already kind of annoyed by that. But I was obviously very excited about Bonanza. I've been talking about it for a long time. I've said multiple times that Donkey Kong Bonanza should have been the launch game instead of Mario Kart World. That I was excited for Donkey Kong Bonanza. All these things are still true. So I guess I'll also preface. So unlike literally every other person on the internet, somehow I have not beaten Donkey Kong Bonanza. I swear, like everybody I've heard talk about this game, they're like, "Oh, I beat Donkey Kong Bonanza," and this was like a couple days ago. And I know there's crazy people out there, but like, man, I'm just like, wow. I feel like I've been playing this a lot and I haven't beat it. It's been 6 days since it came out that I'm recording this, and I have played Bonanza like only like 4 of those days. Or sorry, of the 5 days, 3 days of the five, because it's early in the morning. I haven't gotten a chance to play anything yet today. So of the 5 days before today, I've played it like 3 of the 5 days because I was actually pretty busy, to be fair. Between those 3 days, I've played 12 hours. So I definitely could have played more, but I did play quite a bit. I'm nowhere near the end of it. Like I'm not even sure I'll have it beat by next week, to be honest, because I just it's a long game. And here's the thing about Bonanza. I've been collecting everything in Bonanza, and I do mean everything. So before I get too much into it, I guess I'll say, there are going to be some spoilers, I suppose. If you really are somebody who like doesn't want to get spoiled on the new Donkey Kong game, it's a little weird, but maybe there's some people like that out there. I will try to urge you that it's really not a big deal. I promise. The bosses and stuff, like the story in this game, if you can even like consider it one, it is not something that is. It's. I mean, they pretty much talked about the entire thing in the short overview trailer we got like a month ago. Like, there's nothing left to the imagination in this story, so it's really not a big deal. I would say if you're concerned about spoilers, just don't be. The only thing I guess you could spoil would be like the theming of the areas, but honestly, even that, I mean, they're predictable enough. Like you could probably imagine most of them. That's not to say they're bad, but I don't think it's like anything that I've seen so far. I don't think it's anything too groundbreaking. Um, but I'm not trying to sound like I'm complaining about the game because the game is fantastic. So, of course, I talked a little bit about the demo that I played at Walmart, not my Walmart, but another Walmart. Talked about this a couple weeks ago now. And you started out in like a mining area. You kind of wake up. You have to punch the screen a couple times. They've done that in a lot of Donkey Kong games. I feel like in like Returns and Tropical Freeze, that was a thing. It might have been a thing in the old ones too. I can't remember. I don't think you do. I think you just pop out of the house in Donkey Kong Country 1. But anyways, in some Donkey Kong games, they like to make you punch the barrel open to start the game. And they did that again. And you come out, and it's Donkey Kong, and he comes out of the shadows, and like he's wearing his mining hat and his mining overalls. And I mean, very quickly you're thrown right into the game, and you're in this underground area that we saw quite a bit of in all the trailers. And I also got to play this underground area when I was, at Walmart playing the demo. So I'm in this underground area. I'm kind of walking around, and immediately I'm, trying to get a feel for the controls of the game, get a feel for all that stuff, and I just start punching the room. I'm just punching through the walls. I'm burrowing through tunnels. And it feels incredible. That's something I'll say. The destruction in this game feels incredible, and Donkey Kong feels nice to control. I'll say just quickly, like the move set with Donkey Kong versus the move set with Mario and Mario Odyssey. I do think I prefer the way Mario moves because Donkey Kong's a lot larger, a lot slower, a lot more cumbersome. But I think that's all intentional. I don't think they want you to be able to whip around like you did in Odyssey because you're like literally huge, right? I mean, Donkey Kong's obviously much bigger guy than Mario. I know we're all shocked, right? But I was punching around that first room in Bonanza, just collecting gold, just chucking rocks at other rocks, just all sorts of stuff. And I feel like I almost cleared out those first couple rooms in the mining area. I saw actually a video of somebody on Blue Sky who had literally gone through and actually just cleared out the entire, opening portion of the game, which more power to you. I didn't quite go that far, but that is pretty cool. Um, so you go through the mining area, you get a couple banana gems, banandium gems, whatever they're called, the large banana things. You get a few of those. I got a couple extra ones that I found hidden in the walls and stuff. I was really trying to get a lot of stuff as I went through. And you get shot out into a larger area, and I think I'd say it's pretty grassy, but not for long. You get to an area where there's like a giant rift in the ground. You go through there, you climb a tower, you fight a boss, whatever. I mean, it's really like I don't think there's a whole lot to say about the area specifically. I will say the first one wasn't like the most interesting of areas. Like I don't think it was terribly uninteresting, but it wasn't crazy, right? So, and I get to the first boss fight. And I guess it was a boss fight, but honestly, it was a regular enemy that you see later in the game. And I think they were just kind of trying to teach you how to fight stronger enemies. And, I run at it, punch it a few times, it's dead. I'm like, okay. So you go to the next area. So you go to the first, like, big open area. And the first big open area, I believe, was like this, like, lake area. So it's like there's like some grassy parts, but then below you, you're floating, and then below you there's a bunch of water. And to be honest, this area wasn't necessarily my favorite. I guess I'll describe all the areas. So that was the first big open area, was the one where you're above the water. The second big area was like this hilly area with flowers and stuff. That one was actually I like that one a lot better. I just think it was more interesting because it was very flat. I mean, I'd say it was hilly. They were like small hills, most of them. So it was like there wasn't much in your way. You could kind of just travel around like pretty quickly. I think that area was intended to teach you the turf surfing mechanic. So that's a mechanic in the game. You can grab a piece of floor off the floor, and you can jump on it and surf on it, like shield surfing in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, kind of like that. And so that was, I think they were trying to teach you that, and they were trying to promote you to use that. I never really used that because I was going around collecting everything. So there's that. Then there was an area where it was like very rocky. It was like a orange, like rocky, like a mesa almost. And you rode a bunch of mine carts in that area. And then I don't think I'm missing any. I think the next one was this area where you have to. It's a small little area. You have to pick where you go next, and it was between an ice area and a forest area. I chose the ice area, and as you can imagine, that was very ice themed. I know, believe it or not, right? And then afterwards, you have to go back and get sent to the other area, the forest area. So those are all the areas I've done so far. I'm in the forest area still. I haven't done much. I'd say so far my favorite of the themes for the levels was probably the hilly open area with all the flowers. I'm not anything about the flowers specifically. I think it was more just the fact, like I said, that it was so open and it was kind of fun to just like go between places with nothing in your way. You could feel like that would be like kind of boring because there's just nothing there. But I don't know. It was small enough of an area that it was just kind of neat to just walk around like and not have anything in your way. So this game, there's a lot of things about this game that you can compare directly to Mario Odyssey. Obviously, the easiest thing to compare between the two are the main collectibles. So in Mario Odyssey, obviously the main collectibles that progress you through the game are the Power Moons, and in Bonanza they're the Banandium gems or the banana whatever. I think they're the Banandium gems, whatever they are. They're banana shaped and they're like solid. So those things. Now, you've heard me complain about Odyssey a lot. I complain about Odyssey like all the time. And one of my biggest complaints with Odyssey was that it felt like there was no reason to collect the moons. And also, there were so many of them. In older 3D Mario games, they're a lot more manageable. It feels like every moon, or every star, there's like specifically, like there's a level involved, you know what I mean? Like, and so I just, my problem with Odyssey, I don't know, maybe I don't know what my problem with Odyssey was, but it just felt like you're just walking around, grabbing moons. There's just no moon feels unique. And it's like a continuous thing. You're grabbing moon after moon after moon after moon. You're not kicked out of the level. I'm not saying you should have been kicked out of the level, but maybe, like, it just felt like there wasn't you weren't accomplishing as much. And also you had to collect like 10 times the moons, and it was very annoying. But honestly, I think Bananza has fixed my issue. Because first of all, I feel like there's a lot less Banandium gems than Power Moons. It feels like there's far fewer. I'm sure you can probably get just as many by buying them in the shop, because that is still something you can do. You can buy them in the shop, so you can probably get just as many. But it feels like there's less of them just hidden around. Many of them feel like there's more attached to them, like there's more you have to do to get some of them. But on top of that, there's actually like specifically a reward to collecting them, and that's that you get skill points to add to Donkey Kong. So Donkey Kong unlocks new abilities, he can upgrade other abilities and stuff by getting 5 gems. So you get a banana 5 times and boom, there you go, you have a skill point. Now some of the skills take like 5 points, but others of them are a single point. And obviously as you go through the game, you start to get rid of those single and double point things so that you can really only get something with 4 or 5 skill points. And I think it's a very natural progression. It feels great. I love some of the abilities you can get. Others are kind of useless, but, honestly, I think the skill tree is a really cool thing. It's not really a tree, but the skill menu is a really cool thing in Bananza. I love leveling stuff up. Obviously, the first thing I wanted to do was my punch power. I wanted to level that up. But there's some other things as well. Like, you can, specifically, like, improve your turf surfing. You can specifically improve each Bananza. I haven't even talked about the Bananza abilities. So, of course, the banana gems are just like the Power Moons in Odyssey, but they feel like they're much less, there's fewer of them, so they're less daunting to get. Honestly, I think they feel more fun to get, because it feels like there's more involved in getting many of them. They're a little bit more unique, most of them. And on top of that, they actually serve more of a functional purpose. Now, obviously, you could argue that maybe the Power Moons serve a good purpose because you need them to continue the game, but you only need a few. You can go through a level, get every Power Moon, and you really only need like a fifth of them. Whereas in Bananza, you don't really specifically need any banana gems. I imagine you could probably get through the entire game without collecting one. I'm not entirely sure if that's true, but I imagine it might be. But you're not blocked off by needing a banana gem, at least so far that I've seen, maybe later on in the game, but I don't think so. And so really, you get the banana gems because they're fun to collect, and because you get the tangible reward of a new ability, or an upgraded ability. So I think it feels a lot better, the collecting of the banana gems in Donkey Kong Bonanza. I like it a lot more than Odyssey. It fixed my problem with it. The other thing in Bonanza that you collect are the fossils. So in each area, except for the opening area and a couple of like the little areas, like the in-between stages, like those don't always. But the big open areas, those ones have fossils. And there's usually a few different types of fossils. There's like one fossil that there's like 50 or 60 of. There's one fossil that there's like 5 or 10 of. And there's one fossil that's unique. There's only like one of them. Or maybe there's 3 or something, but there's not many. And each of those fossils, they're all in each world. And I've been trying to collect every banana and every fossil I can. And of course, so basically my strategy to try to collect everything is I'll go underground. I'll dig my way underground, because underground there are these treasure chests. Treasure chests. Man, I can't talk. You go underground, you punch through a bunch of rock, and you open treasure chests. Goodness gracious. And when you open these chests. Oh my gosh, dude, I'm losing it. I'm losing it. When you open them, these things that shall not be named, a lot of them just contain gold, but a lot of them also contain like maps and stuff for bananas and for fossils, and they'll mark themselves on your map. So you open up your map and you can see where certain bananas or fossils are located roughly, right? Obviously, you don't see the elevation of them, but you see the left and right. Like, you see where they're located within an area. And it's not exact. Well, it is kind of exact, but it's like, that doesn't necessarily tell you exactly where it is. Sometimes you still have to look for it when you get there, but it gives you, obviously, a much better clue. Another cool thing is the sonar, right? So you slap on the ground, Donkey Kong style, and things will ping. So it shows you where treasure chests are. It shows you where banana gems are, and it shows you where fossils are in your immediate vicinity. And so you can go dig to them. I'll often find myself underground and just, spamming the sonar looking for stuff. If I find something, I dig through the wall towards it. Sometimes you'll find that they're like hidden in some box or something that you can't break through, and you have to go a specific way. But other times, they're just out in the open. You can just dig your way into a cave and get them there. So sometimes there's like holes that you could go through, and you could walk through the cave and fight all the enemies, or you could just go the other way around. You could just dig through the cave and boom, get your banana at the end. So, there's ways to kind of avoid doing a lot of the stuff, and it's kind of fun sometimes to kind of skip around and do things the incorrect way. I actually, in one area, I accidentally dug into the boss room. I was just digging around, looking for fossils and stuff, and all of a sudden I just dug into the boss room and activated the boss fight before I had actually done all of the level before that I was supposed to. So I accidentally found a skip, and I had to go back and, do this stuff afterwards and go through the rest of the level so I could actually get all the fossils and stuff. And so yeah, Bonanza, like, it's just pure joy digging around through stuff. I found myself less lately just digging around just for the fun of it. But I still like digging around to find treasure chests. Oh, I actually said it right that time. And to find, use my sonar to find bonanzas bananas and all sorts of neat things. So yeah, I mean, Bonanza is great for collecting stuff. I love collecting things. I am pretty impressed so far with the worlds, right? Like, I kind of like, it's really a nice feeling when I finish up an area and I, dig down. So basically, the whole point of the game is you're trying to get to the planet core because you and Pauline, because Pauline's your partner, obviously, you saw this from the trailers. You two are both from the surface, and you're like 100 layers under the earth, and so you're trying to get back up, but then there's like some ape dude that tells you you're actually supposed to go to the planet core to get to the top, because if you get to the planet core, you get your wish to come true. It's like a whole thing. Like, I don't know. It's a whole thing. So anyways, doesn't matter. But yeah, so basically, you've got to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So you'll clear an area, and you'll open up a large hole that you can jump down, and you can get to a new area. So I really like the reveal of new areas. You'll finally finish an area, and then you jump through the hole, and you're like, all right, what am I gonna emerge in, right? What am I gonna come out and see? So yeah, I definitely really enjoy the game for aspects like that. There's voice acting, technically. So there's the Kong elders, right? There's the elders in some of the areas. There was one in one of the earlier areas. He was like a big, like, black ape. I don't know. He had like some golden spots on him. So he was like black, not like Donkey Kong, right? But he was like, like a gorilla. He looked like. And so there was him, and then I've also found one in the ice area that was a zebra. And I'm assuming that in the forest area, because the ice area and the forest area were branching paths, I could go either way I wanted. So I'm assuming that the forest area also has an elder, and that'll be the third elder I see. Because I would imagine if they wanted to send you in two different directions, that they were both going to be similar. That's my guess. So I'm assuming I'm about to find the third elder, but I've already found two of them. And they all have voice acting, kind of. Like, they'll say, like, Donkey Kong, and you can make it out. Or they'll say, like, DK, and you can make it out. Or they'll say Pauline, right? But every other word they say is not intelligible. Like, they're just, like, mumbling. I guess they didn't want to hire voice actors for the elders. And DK doesn't talk, he just makes noises. Pauline does talk, and you can actually, it is intelligible. You can actually understand what she's saying. She'll talk to you sort of annoyingly. It's not that bad. While you're walking around, she'll be like, oh, you're low on health, get an apple. And that's the thing, there's apples sitting around to heal with. I don't know why they're not bananas, but whatever. And, and Pauline will talk at you. Here's another great thing. So, you can fast travel around the zones. There's these eels that'll teleport you, between areas. Between areas within a larger area. But then there's also a larger eel that'll teleport you between larger areas. So I can go a whole layer up. If I'm in the 400th layer, I'm in the fourth world, right? I can go up to the third world with the bigger eel. But with the little eel, I can go between smaller layers. So basically all of the, like, kingdoms in Odyssey are now layers in Donkey Kong Bonanza. And so most of them are even numbers. It'll be like 400, 500, 600, 700, right? And in between those layers, there's also, like, you might be able to go one layer up or one layer down, 2 layers down, 3 layers down even, as you continue through the story. But, basically, so your little eels can transport you from 301 to 300, or they can transport you between areas in 300 or in 301. But the larger eel can transport you from 301 to 201, right? So there's the different eels for different things. But every time you go to fast travel with the eels, Pauline is like, "Ooh, do you really want to teleport here?" Because they make this whole pun out of it. You can teleport around the map, which honestly, it's so stupid, but it's also kind of funny and charming. So, anyway, so teleporting around. Let's see, what else is there to talk about with this game? Yeah, Pauline. So far, you found Pauline in like the first big area of the game. You found a rock, a weird looking rock, and then in the second area, the rock like transforms into Pauline. So you found Pauline. Because yeah, when I was playing the game, playing the first opening parts of the game, I was like, man, where's Pauline? I haven't seen Pauline anywhere. But you find her later. I did not immediately think that the rock was going to be Pauline. Let's see. The main bad guys are the Void Company, and they are a mining company, and they're trying to get to the center of the Earth. And it's like this weird, like, I don't even know how to describe him. He's this weird looking guy, and then there's like a gorilla looking guy, and there's like this girl like monkey. I don't know. She's weird looking too. They're all weird looking, right? I mean, and so there's these three guys. So far, I've fought both of the two, like the henchmen, a couple times. I have not fought the main guy. I'm guessing the main guy is going to be at the end of the game. Obviously, that would make sense. But yeah, so I've fought, both of them a few times. All of their fights, consist of them building some sort of, machine or whatever to take you down because they don't want to fight you themselves. Here's the thing, though. In the game, one of the first boss fight, I told you about the one that was just a regular enemy at the top of the first level. But there's also one not long after that. It's like this giant cube. It's squishy, but it has like a little layer of protective coating. So I'm going to fight this boss. Here's what happens. I run up towards it. I'm punching the whole way, and it's dropping enemies at me. And so I'm just punching through the enemies. They're not even doing any damage to me. I run up to the boss. I smack its armor off in like 2 hits, and then I smack it a few times, and it falls down. Then I go up, and I punch it a bunch, and it's dead. That's it. That's the fight. So, the fight lasted me like a minute and a half. The next boss fight I did was like the same thing. And so far, I've fought like 5 or 6 bosses. Every single time, I just transform into the Bananza mode, like the one where I punch harder. And I just run up, punch them a bunch. Like I just spam punch while running up. And usually, I kill them with no trouble. And it literally takes me 30 seconds to a minute for most of them. So the boss fights are way too easy. I think it's maybe they don't have as much health. Maybe they're just not good enough at dodging or evading your attacks. I don't know what it is, but the boss balance is way off, and the bosses are just way too easy. So I don't really like the boss fights. That is probably the game's biggest weakness, is the boss fights. I mean, you could say the story, but I don't really care about the story, so it is what it is. But I think the biggest weakness is the boss fights, because honestly, the boss fights look cool, and they have cool attacks and stuff. It's just that I never see them, because I kill them in like 5 seconds, and they're dead. It's like not even a problem. So the game is obviously very easy. I expected that. It is whatever. I mean, I don't really care too much about the regular game being easy, but I kind of wish the boss fights, they don't have to be hard, but maybe they stay alive long enough so you can see their attacks. I don't know. I mean, like they seem well designed besides the difficulty balancing. So I'd like to, get a better. I almost feel like I should not use my Bananza on the bosses and use regular Donkey Kong so that the boss can stay alive longer, just so I can see what it's actually like to fight the boss. Like that's how easy it is. It's crazy. It's like I think I've died like 3 times in this game. Maybe 4 or 5. I don't know, but it's not many, and none of them were to boss fights or enemies or anything. They're just like to me falling in lava or something like that, or falling off a cliff or something. So, I don't know. I will say, falling off a cliff, you can get these red balloons. They're just like the red balloons from Donkey Kong Country, except they're not lives. They just, like, when you fall off of a ledge, they will, like, bring you back up. If you fall out of bounds, they bring you back up and you don't take any damage. But obviously, if you run out of red balloons, then you actually die and you get sent back to an area. So, anyways. I've yapped too much already. We're only half an hour in. I'm like, man, I'm like tripping over my words and stuff today. Let's see, what else about Bananza? Oh, Cranky Kong is in Bananza. You find him so far I've found him in a few of the areas. I'm guessing he's probably in all of them. I'm not really sure. But you find Cranky Kong around, and he has like his little rants, and it's kind of like finding Peach in Odyssey, right? You talk to Peach for a little while. It's similar to that, but you're talking to Cranky Kong, or like Captain Toad, right? It's one of those kind of things. And basically, Cranky Kong just kind of lectures you about how he's doing your job for you and all this stuff every time. But sometimes he has cool little things to say. Like the one time he's talking about, because the whole like part of the premise of the game is that they've stolen all the Kong's bananas. I know you're probably shocked that somebody stole the Kong's bananas. I know it's who could believe it, right? But yeah, so Cranky Kong's trying to track down whoever stole the bananas because Donkey Kong's too busy trying to get to the planet core to actually deal with any sort of problems, and Cranky Kong's not happy with it. Um, and he brought Rambi with him, so you actually will see Rambi the Rhino from the Donkey Kong Country games. You see Rambi and you see Cranky Kong, basically in every level. You see Rambi first, so you see Rambi, and then Cranky Kong's either in the sky or he's below or something. So Rambi is usually your cue to look for Cranky Kong. And if you talk to Cranky Kong, you get a banana gem, so it's obviously worth talking to him. There's other ones. There's like, there's these guys around that look like potatoes, and they'll like give you your smashing stats so you can see like how much of each substance you've broken through in the game. And if you get enough of each substance, you'll get a banana gem for it. So there's a lot of like NPCs and stuff to talk to get gems, just like in Mario Odyssey. There's these like trees that you find sometimes, and they're like not grown fully, and you'll give them a bunch of gold and they'll grow, and on some of the branches there'll be gems, so you get like 3 gems per tree if you have enough gold, which obviously you do. That's another big thing. The gold in this game, it's insane. You get like right now I'm sitting at like 60,000 or something, and every time I come to a part where I have to spend gold, it's like 1,000 or less. So it's like I'm never gonna run out of gold in this game. I don't know. It is what it is. It's fine. It's not a big deal. So there's the gold you collect. There's also the banana chips that you collect. You can find those just in the ground or poking out of walls sometimes. And you can like collect stuff that's poking out of the ground or out of the wall with your hand slap. It's like a magnet. It pulls all this stuff towards you. And the banana chips, so far that I've seen, are just used to trade for actual banana gems at some of the shops. So that's interesting. Did I talk about the fossils? I'm not sure I talked about the fossils. So the fossils, you collect there's a bunch of those in each area. You don't really need any fossils. Like you could go through the whole game and not collect a single fossil if you wanted to. Um, but they're kind of like the purple coins in Odyssey, so you get different outfits and stuff for DK by collecting the fossils. I'm not really bothered about the outfits, but I'm still liking getting all the fossils I can because I'm thinking about 100% in the game. I think I will, unless things change. The game seems a lot less daunting to 100% than Odyssey, at least so far. Like, I've already gotten all the fossils in several of the areas just by going through the game normally. Like, I don't have to come back and get some later. And as far as the banana gems, I've looked through the list, and for some of the areas, I'm actually already like pretty close. So it seems like I might not have to do that much backtracking. It might be like an hour or two per area. So honestly, yeah, I'm really thinking of 100% in the game. Like, it's really fun. I love collecting stuff. I love being able to dig around underground and find treasure chests to show you where things are. Honestly, I just think the game is so incredible. I love the way Donkey Kong controls. Like I said, I don't feel like he's as fluid as Mario. He's much slower, more cumbersome, but I think that makes a lot of sense for Donkey Kong as a character, obviously. So yeah, I mean, honestly and truly, I love Donkey Kong Bonanza. I think it's a fantastic game. I think it's leagues above Odyssey. Odyssey doesn't hold a candle to Donkey Kong Bonanza. And here's the thing, I'm obviously not that far into Bonanza. I don't know. I could be pretty far. Maybe I'm like a third of the way through, but I've got quite a ways to go, and then I've got even longer if I'm planning 100% it. So I'm not that far in, but initially, I'm already like, man, this would have been maybe in my top 10 if I had beat it in time for my top 50 list, or if I had made my top 50 list earlier, I should say, because I made the list before this game even came out. But yeah, I think next time I make a top 50 list, I think this is going to be really high up it. And so far, this is probably my favorite game I've played this year. So it's my game of the year, and so far, it's probably going to be number one in my end of year ranking. So we'll see what happens. But again, I mean, there's a lot of game left. Maybe I'll sour on it by the end, and it'll fall down a little bit. I still imagine it'll be very high in my mind. But yeah, it's a fantastic game, and if you are worried about there being no good games on Switch 2, that's a valid concern, but Bananza is a really good game on Switch 2. It's fantastic. If you liked Odyssey, you'll love it. If you didn't like Odyssey, wow, I didn't realize there were more people like me. But if you didn't like Odyssey, honestly, you'll probably still like it, as long as you liked old Mario games or you liked old DK games. I think it really appeals to both. So yeah, I'm excited, and I hope we do get more 3D Donkey Kong games. But here's my concern, right? The 3D Mario team, I think they're EPD Section 8, maybe. Those guys are obviously very busy. They've got 3D Mario, they've got now 3D Donkey Kong. And it seems like they only ever get one of those games done per generation anymore. So I'm a little concerned that we're not getting a 3D Mario game. Obviously, I've talked about this a lot. I'm concerned that we're not going to get a 3D Mario game this generation, and that we might not even get a 3D Donkey Kong game next generation. It's looking to me like they're getting into a schedule where every 7 years they have a game, or every 8 years, whatever, every console generation, and each time it's going to rotate. That's my theory, is that when the next console launches, we'll get a 3D Mario, and then when the one after that launches, we'll get a Donkey Kong, and then Mario, Donkey Kong, Mario, Donkey Kong, right? I don't think there's going to be one in between. Like, I don't think in 4 years we're getting a Mario game, and then 3 after that we're getting another Donkey Kong. I think we're actually not going to see these games for like 7 or 8 years each, because they're so ambitious, they're so big, they take so long to make. Yeah, that's my theory. I hope it's not true, but that's what it's looking like for me. So we'll see what happens. Another big thing. So I was thinking about games coming out this year, right? Because obviously, we expected this to be a big year. So far, it's not looking great. We need a Nintendo Direct. I've been talking about how we need a Nintendo Direct for a while now. Originally, my theory was that it was going to be this week. I was actually pretty convinced it was going to be this week, and I figured, if it was going to be Tuesday, they would talk about it Monday. If it was going to be Wednesday, they'd talk about it Tuesday. If it was going to be Thursday, we're going to talk about Wednesday. But unfortunately, here it is on Wednesday, and they haven't talked about it yet. So that's not saying for sure that it's not happening tomorrow. But if it is happening tomorrow, then I'll probably live stream it. We'll just have to see what happens, I suppose. But it's looking to me like we're not getting a Direct this week. So that leaves next week as a potential. We could get a Direct next week. But if we don't get a Direct next week, I don't think we're getting a Direct till September. And that would really concern me, because right now, as far as Nintendo's release schedule for really the rest of the year, we have the Mario Party Switch 2 edition coming out tomorrow, which honestly, I don't even count that as a release. It's already been out. It's just a Switch 2 edition. It's nothing major. Dragon Drive is a new game in August, but again, that's really not anything major. Kirby and the Forgotten Land Switch 2 edition, still not anything major. Then there's Pokemon in October, and there's Metroid Prime 4, probably October, maybe November. And that's it. That's all they got. They've got like nothing. They've got like 2 big games. One of them is Pokemon, so Nintendo didn't even make that one. So Nintendo really, games Nintendo has made, and that's assuming you count Retro Studios as an in-house studio, there's one game coming out. So that really does concern me. I mean, I just think that the game output on Switch 2, the first year of Switch 2, seems to be far, far weaker and far, far quieter than it was on Switch 1. And I think they should probably do everything in their power to emulate the Switch 1's launch, because the Switch 1's launch was so wildly successful the first year of the Switch that I would think they'd want to do everything they could to kind of replicate that exact same success. And so far, it doesn't really seem like they've done anything quite of the sort. So I'm very concerned. Honestly, I'm very concerned for Nintendo. I'm happy with a game like Bananza, but I do kind of wish there was more, and I'm really concerned about Nintendo for anybody who doesn't really, anybody who's not bothered about Metroid Prime 4, because honestly, I don't think Metroid Prime 4 can be their holiday game. Because while, yes, the Nintendo hardcore is going to be interested in a game like Metroid Prime 4, the general consumer, even someone like myself, isn't really interested in Metroid Prime 4. I'm not buying Metroid Prime 4 because I want to play Metroid Prime 2 and 3 first. And I wish they'd give me a way to do that on modern consoles, because I really don't want to have to play Metroid Prime 2 on the GameCube. But yeah, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. And I think there's also a lot of people who just don't care about Metroid. Metroid's not a big series. So, I don't know. I guess it is what it is, but I'm concerned. I don't know what exactly has happened to make it so that there's not really all that many games. I'm not sure if it's just because, development cycles are so long. I'm not sure if it's because this is Nintendo's first time making 4K games. I don't know exactly what it is, but whatever it is, I'm very concerned for them. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess, but Yeah, it's not a great situation we find ourselves in. But who knows? Maybe we'll get a direct announced today, and that'll happen tomorrow, and everything will be all fine and dandy. Um, and if there is a direct tomorrow, I'll live stream my reaction on the YouTube channel, and I probably, unless something comes up. And then honestly, if there's a direct, I'll probably make a bonus podcast episode too, like a short one. Um, Speaking of the podcast, I should mention something. I probably should have said this at the start, but I'll probably remind everybody again at the end of the show. Um, the podcast, I'm moving the podcast. I'm not sure if it'll be a permanent change, but I'm changing the date that the podcast is coming out. So basically, what happened was here over the summer, there's been a few weeks where I've had potentially 2 videos to go out in 1 week because I have less to do, so I have more time. And what I've found is like so Wednesday and Friday are usually the best days to launch videos. Usually Friday's the very best day, Wednesday's the second best day. And right now the podcast is on Wednesday. And if I'm going to put out 2 videos in a week, I'd like to do it on a Friday and a Wednesday. But if the podcast is on Wednesday, then I don't want the podcast to interrupt the actual videos because the actual videos I put more time into and I think they're better. So the podcast is getting moved to Tuesday. We're going to try putting out on Tuesday for the rest of the summer probably. If things have to change and I go back to Wednesday, that's fine. If after the summer things go back to Wednesday, that could happen. So this isn't necessarily a permanent change, but it's a change for now because I think it'll just make more sense, especially for the rest of the summer in the event that I can make 2 videos. So this is going out on Wednesday, but the next one, episode 24, will be on. That'll go out on Tuesday, the 29th. And like I said, that we're just going to try that out. If it doesn't work, maybe I'll move it to Monday. Maybe I'll move it back to Wednesday. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll move it to Thursday. I don't know. But whatever the case, I'm thinking of moving I am moving the podcast, at least temporarily. I don't know if it'll be forever, but at least temporarily I do want to move it because I really just think that the Wednesday schedule, it worked really well during the school year, and so maybe I'll change it back after the summer's out. We'll see what happens, but especially during the summer, Wednesday's not the best day for the podcast. So I'm moving it, and we'll see if it becomes if it's a better strat or if it's worse. In which case, I might just change it. I'm not like too attached to Tuesday specifically. It might end up moving to Monday at some point as well. I just right now I feel like Tuesday's a better day, so we'll go with Tuesday, and maybe it'll be moved again. I'll make sure to keep you posted. And so expect the next one on Tuesday, not on Wednesday. But yes, like I said, if there's a direct, I will definitely be recording that as well. I'll live stream that and then I'll probably react to it live as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can say about Bananza. I don't know if I want to get too much into news today. I don't have a whole lot of time today. I feel like this one could be a little shorter. By the way, if anyone else has been playing Bananza and they want to email in any sort of thoughts or feelings on it, you can do that at notjustnintendo@gmail.com. It is notjustnintendo@gmail.com. Or you can leave a comment on Spotify or on YouTube with any sort of questions or any sort of, things you have to say about Bananza or about anything else. I'll happily read them and answer them on the show. So make sure to leave those down below. And I guess that's that. So Bananza, yeah. Honestly, had I made my top 50 a little later, I think Bananza could have probably fallen in the top 10 because I think Bananza is probably the best Donkey Kong game. So I think it probably would have beat Tropical Freeze. Tropical Freeze was number 6. I think it could have quite possibly been slotted in at number 5. And then maybe I should have bumped up Galaxy. Maybe I could have had Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, Super Mario Galaxy, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and then Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door at number 6. That's how strong I feel about Bonanza right now. And who knows, maybe that'll fade a little bit. Maybe that'll only grow, even stronger, that passion for Bonanza. But really, I think Bonanza is a fantastic game, and I'm really excited to see it through, so I'm going to keep playing it, and I'll keep you guys posted. I'll definitely be sure to talk about that in the next episode. I don't know if I'll have beat it by the next episode. I'm guessing 2 episodes from now, I'll definitely have beat it. But I'm not sure if I will have by next episode or not. We'll see what happens. But that's definitely something we'll have to keep talking about. So, in the next week, I definitely am going to return to Final Fantasy III, try to get done with that. I don't know if I told you, but I bought Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 on Switch on the eShop because they were all like super cheap last week. So I now have Final Fantasy 1 through 6 on Steam through the Pixel remasters and a 7, 8, and 9 on Switch 1 through just, re-releases. I have 8 remastered, I have 7 as the original version, and 9 as the original version, just ported to Switch. So I'm going to play through all of those. Right now, my plan is to just play through 1 through 6. I'm working on 3. I think I'm almost done with 3. But then after Final Fantasy 3, I'm going to go play Breath of Fire. That's my RPG plan right now. I play a Final Fantasy, and then I play something else. So it's Final Fantasy 3, then Breath of Fire, then probably Final Fantasy 4, and then we'll see. Maybe I'll go play Breath of Fire 2. I kind of want to play the Mario and Luigi series through again, so maybe I'll play Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. We'll see what happens. I guess I could play a couple at once, but we'll see. We'll see. So, but yes, I'd like to at least get through Final Fantasy 1 through 6 before the end of the year. And then if I could get through 7, that would be nice too, because they're doing the Final Fantasy 7 remake. They're porting that over to Switch too, so I would kind of like to play that on Switch too. That'd be pretty cool. So we'll see what happens. I guess it's nothing's really set in stone, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking right now, is trying to play through Final Fantasy is one of the big things right now. Dragon Quest. I've been excited to play Dragon Quest, and I guess Dragon Quest 3. So far, they have not announced a Switch 2 edition. And so here's the thing with Dragon Quest. For whatever reason, they made Dragon Quest 3 a prequel to Dragon Quest 1 and 2. So you're supposed to play Dragon Quest 3, then 1, then 2. And they put out 3 last year, and they put it out on Switch. But it's not really a great version on Switch, and I'm thinking it could come to Switch 2. So I kind of want to wait and see if it does. And then they're putting out 1 and 2 in October. So I'm hoping, beyond hope, that they put out Dragon Quest 3 as a Switch 2 edition sometime in the next couple of months. I can play that, and then I can play Dragon Quest 1 and 2. But as it currently stands, I'm not going to buy Dragon Quest 1 and 2 when it comes out, because I want to play 3 first, and I think that they might make a Switch 2 version of it. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on for Dragon Quest. Other stuff coming out at the end of the year, there's Final Fantasy Tactics, which I'm currently not too interested in. There was Kirby, which I had said no, but now I'm actually thinking I might end up buying Kirby. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm thinking... Oh, and then Pokemon. I'm not going to buy Pokemon Legends ZA unless I play Arceus in the next few months. We'll see what happens. I'm looking to buy Arceus pretty soon, but unfortunately, like I said, I can't find anything that's more than a couple years old because I don't have a GameStop anymore, or any game store. I literally just have, like, Walmart, and that's kind of it. So it really sucks. We have to, like, travel pretty far to get to anything else. So it's really a pretty unfortunate situation. Honestly, as far as Bananza, I can't, like, I don't know what else I can really articulate. So I feel like next time I should probably come in with, like, my thoughts written down on Bananza. I should talk a little bit more about it next week. So I might just call it good here today, because I'm a little busy. I've got some stuff to do. I want to work on some videos as well if I have any extra time. So I think I'm going to call it good. I know this is a shorter episode, and I expected it to be a slightly longer one. So I apologize for that. I don't always have the stamina for these hour-and-a-half long podcast episodes, so I might have to kind of think about shortening them a little bit over the school year, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. I know they're not super long to begin with, so it'll probably just be on a week-by-week basis, and I don't really want to do news today because I kind of wanted to keep this just focused on Bananza, so I'm probably going to call it good here for this episode, and then next week I'll come back and probably do a longer one where I talk more about Bananza and I talk about some news and stuff, because I kind of figure, like, I can make these podcast episodes variable in length because it's just me, I'm the only guy doing it. So if there's a few people, I want to keep them pretty consistent, but because it's just me, I can make one shorter and one longer whenever I feel like. It's really not a big deal. So I've already got a couple ideas for future podcast episodes as well, so we'll see what happens. I guess with all that said, thanks all for tuning in. I know this was a shorter episode, but I still think it was kind of neat because I'm excited about Bananza. And honestly, I want to play some more of it. So when I play some more of it, I'll talk about it again. And I'll see you all next week. Or on Tuesday. Remember, it's on Tuesday next week on the 29th, not on the 30th. All right, everybody. Goodbye.